Oh, wow. Hey, much love and respect to everyone tuned in. I hope you guys liked this video. Just wanted to do this little compilation I have here, a lot of recordings, and maybe go over some important videos and important information just to get a refresh. All right, let's have fun with this. Hope you guys like this. Thank you for being here. Much love to the chat, especially since we're premiering this video. Hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya. Just want to give a shout out to the Instagram community. In this video, I'll be showing some clips of some pages. They got some great posts. Just wanted to share with everybody. I thought everybody should see it, just in case you haven't come across it. But this is my page right here, in case you don't know. Got some great images here. We're gonna go over these one day. All right, got some great images here. All right. So again, just want to give a shout out to the Instagram community. Learned a lot actually. Met some great people. Much love out there. And shout out to Nine Spiral, Copper Hot Step, 42 The Drop, of course. Yeah, Big Frizzo, Open Mija. Yeah, Natural by Law. Man, there's so many, man. I can't name y'all all, but you know who y'all are, man. And a lot of you people in the Instagram community, yeah, you know what's up. Hawa. And this is at the Denver Public Library Digital Collections. All right, and they're showing a Ute Indian man here. Let me just zoom in a little bit. All right, so this is him right here. All right, zoomed in. All right, copper color races of America. All right, look at the whole gear. All right, you see the cross. We had that symbol here. Before any European came here with their Christianity, we had that symbol already over here. See his fringes? All right, his moccasins. Standing on a bear. Look at his shoes, moccasins. Look at that. Wow, pimped out, man. You see? All right, he got his little pipe and tomahawk weapon. Not his pipe. All right. Copper colored tribes of America. All right. I'm just gonna go ahead and read the info. All right, and it says an unidentified Native American man poses for a full-length studio portrait. All right, but he's a Ute Indian. He wears a feather headdress and a large woven blanket over his shoulders. He stands on a bear skin rug, wears beaded moccasins. All right, we saw them, and holds a long pipe in his left hand. A long beaded pouch hangs from his hip next to another thinner beaded strap from which a cluster of long hair dangles. All right, is that scalps? So he got a little pouch. Is that his medicine pouch? A thin stick resembling an arrow sticks up from his headdress. His long braids fall down to his waist. Wow, and are tied with beaded straps. Additional feathers dangle from his headdress, along with two strands adorned with talons. All right. So this is a copyright from, says here, the Western History and Genealogy Department in Denver Public Library. That's him again. All right, his long braids. All right, so I got this book. It's PDF from the Library of Congress archives. It's actually a German written account, a manuscript written in 1750. Well, it was a travel they did to Americas in 1750. They returned to Germany in 1754 and wrote it after there. And this was translated, right? And it basically is right here. The name of it's Gottlieb Mittelberger's Journey to Pennsylvania in the year 1750 and returned to Germany in the year 1754. Containing not only a description of the country according to its present condition, but also a detailed account of the sad and unfortunate circumstances of most of the Germans that have emigrated or are emigrating to that country. Because remember, why? Why would it be so sad and unfortunate? Remember, most of these are probably convicts or indentured servants. We just got the video, right? White servitude, white slavery. Right, so it was translated from the German by Karl Theo Eben, right, member of the German Society of Pennsylvania. Right, this is from 1898, and we're all the way in page 107 of this book from 1898. It says, according to their color, the inhabitants of Pennsylvania may be divided into four classes. All right, so they're dividing the people who are living in Pennsylvania at that time. This doesn't just mean only Indians. I mean everybody who came in, even Europeans and stuff. So they're saying, so one class would be whites, right? It says, example, Europeans who have immigrated and natives begotten by European fathers and mothers. It says Negroes. Example, blacks brought over as slaves from Africa. So we're gonna dodge the hijack right there, right? We know better. All right, these are just other aboriginals. Remember, they're bringing from other parts of America. There is no slave ships. We've debunked that. They were taking American, actually aboriginals from this side of the world to the other side, the Spaniards and Portuguese, mostly. All right, we know that. So it says three. Then there's the mulattoes or the mulattoes or the mulattoes, right? We know to dodge the hijack right there too. We know a lot of the times they were just naming Indians mulattoes in the census records, right, with no ancestry of Africa or any mixture, such as are begotten by a white father and a black mother, or by a black father and a white mother, it says. So these are neither white nor black, but yellowish. All right, so what happened to the yellow man? So who's the yellow man? The mulatto. You see, get what I'm saying? Just light-skinned Negroes. There's people like that. There was people like that since ancient times here. That doesn't mean they were mixed. All right, but the fourth complexion or race, or as they say, inhabitants, the color of the inhabitants would be what? Dark brown. Who's dark brown? You already know, right? Who's dark brown? These are the savages or Indians. You dodge the hijack with savages, right? They're always going to throw in that word there, try to describe us as savages. All right, so dark brown and Indians, they're the ones that are dark brown, the old inhabitants of the country. These are the original people, the old, the very old, the original inhabitants of this country are what? Dark brown. And they are what? The Indians in Pennsylvania. All right, in 1750, dark brown, Indians, dark brown, Indians. Do you guys see that? Dark brown, Indians. All right, so we're in another Instagram. This brother is known, he has great images. He does some great, side by side images. All right, like this one right here. Again, this is Karuism. Sorry if I'm pronouncing it wrong, brother, but I follow him. Love all his images. All right, and this one is Kinish Janapakal, and it says here that it's and Tony from Tone Singer. The so-called American Negro is the indigenous people of the Americas, from Indian to Negro to colored to black to African American. All right, check this out. All right, look at the phenotype. Dodge their hijack. Those are dreadlocks coming out of here. This is another image I thought was really great. It says squash blossoms, right? So this is the type of hairstyle. I'm just gonna read. This is portrait of my great grandmother. This is again Karuism. Pearl Lives Hunt on the Fort Gibson Indian Reservation, located in modern-day Muskogee County, Oklahoma. Early 1900s, she was pregnant with my grandfather, wearing her squash blossom world hairstyle. They've been appropriating our styles all throughout history, as evidenced with the Hollywood imitations. All right, so that's his grandma on a reservation. All right, Anijiwia and Muskogee. All right, this is another image right here. I guess you guys saw a Mayan mural, right? So it says then and now. This is Raspy Rawls. All right, the same hairstyle. You see that? All right, there's another image that says when you realize that the so-called Mayans and the so-called American Negro are the same people. All right, another one of his images put together. You see all these? You can find all these. These are all historical depictions of the Mayas themselves, from vases, walls, ceramic paintings, all that. All right. Another image right here. Again, Mayan. This is from Bonampak murals. All right. This is inside a Mayan temple. All right. You can verify this. Then and now. All right. With the hair wrap. Then and now. Mayan. Now. Mayan. Then. All right. Same people. This is Aztecs. Instagram. Got another great image here. I think I've shown this before. Again, this is then and now, right? Look at this. Look at the similarities. All right, Maya Nobleman and Michael Clark Duncan. All right, same thing, right? You see? Do you remember who you are? I told you this brother got some good images. I be seeing the same thing when I see these sculptures and these pottery and all these statues. I'll be like, wow, that looks like this person, or that looks like this person. All right, and he says, regardless of how far you go back on this land, you're always gonna find yourself right here. Got another image here. Just wanted to go ahead and thought it was a really good comparison. So this is the mask of a Mayan mask of Palenque. I think it's actually Pakal. Right, you see the Aboriginal elder woman right here on the right. It says Nana Wu Wu. Right, same kind of phenotype. You see that? So if you put her in the plains, black and white picture with some more people who look like, you know, with her features, Asian kind of with eyes. A lot of people would say, well, that's a Mongol, and that would be wrong. It's not a Mongol, it's an Aboriginal. Many different phenotypes, all right, just like Karuism is shown. Got another image here from Karuism, and says then and now again. See, I believe it's probably Mardi Gras. No, no, actually Trinidad and Tobago. All right, and you see the base over here, the Mayan base on the left. Got the same kind of design and costume on a Mayan woman from back then. All right, and an Aborigine from today. You see, same people. All right, so just wanted to start out with this Instagram page, Happy Natural Hair. She has some really good info. All right, just wanted to have. I saw this video back a few weeks back, months back actually, and I thought it was very interesting. I wanted to share this with everybody in case you didn't know. I think it's very actually beautiful to be able to, you know, do what the ancestors did.
Halito, Halito, great rising, grand rising. Today is the big special day of the 7 nations coming together, the Hichachi, Chiahe, Okmugi Nation. I am Chief Iskatani Hatapushkik, Niktak Omi of the Hachotakmi Yamasi Creek Tribe, joining the Hichachi, Chiahe, Okmugi Nation here on this historical day here in Atlanta, Georgia, at Adams Park. We will be having a ceremony. So if you're here in Atlanta, Georgia, this is the place to be, because all feathers up, feathers up, feathers up is going down in the ATL, Nanaya, Yokoki, and we'll see you there. Peace, love, light, healings, and blessing. Peace, harmony, and balance. Yokoki, feathers up. This is how it's going down, y'all. So beautiful. Everybody. And these are the great elders. They came from far. Look how beautiful they look. Beautiful. Beautiful, 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 beautiful.
First of all, today is a wondrous day for the people, the indigenous people of this area, this region. I am Principal Chief Anebe Yomi, Chata Obla Nation. And this is
Chief Sanawa, Haishi Opa, Luxie of the Luxie clan of New Orleans.
And we are sister nations. We have our own nation, but we are sister nations. We run our tribes separately. We run our nations separately. But we walk together, as well as the chiefs up here will be among us, and as I say here.
The Indians of the nation, the whole wild creation, we won't kneel down, we won't kneel down, not on the ground, not on the ground. Oh, how I love to hear them call my Indian red, mighty Kurimeo, Indian red.
There are many blacks who go around basically swearing up and down they have an Indian grandmother from the Blackfeet tribe with high cheekbones and long straight black hair down to her knees or something to that effect. Imagine my surprise when I discovered Native Americans in my family, and the connection was less than amicable, with the people being oppressed, not necessarily the Indians. Oklahoma prior to 1907 was not a part of the United States. But when the so-called 5 civilized tribes fought with the Confederacy during the Civil War, and Oklahoma is still considered Little Dixie, it is amazing the story of my ancestors is usually left out of the conversation. The 5 slave-holding tribes known as Cherokee, Chickasaw, Choctaw, Creek or Muskogee, and Seminole have received much attention when it comes to their plight of being forced from their eastern homes and resettled in Indian territory. What is almost always left out of this sad tale is the fact that thousands of African and African native people in chattel slavery cried along the same trail under the whip and in chains. My family's story is a part of the trail of blood and tears, and hopefully one day it too will become told as part of being black in America. I still didn't know much more about my mother's family, and my father could only give me sketchy information. My mother passed in 1980, and what I knew about her family was Uncle JB, who lived in San Francisco, and whenever he visited, it was always a good time. I knew about Aunt June and her husband, Uncle Buddy, who for a guy who was probably less than 120 pounds could rip an LA phone book in half. And don't ask me how, but the guy was good. Aunt Margaret, she lived in Waco, Texas. I know about my Aunt Marilyn, who lived in Kansas City, Missouri, and then their brother James, who lived in Maryland. So you can see that everybody was all over the place. We never had a family reunion, so getting to know them was a little difficult. My father's house was broken into, and the place was left disheveled and in a wreck. While my father was putting things back into order, he came across a letter from an attorney doing a search for all of the heirs to some land that was owned by an Issam and Julia Jackson in Oklahoma. In the letter, the attorney performed a genealogical search and discovered one of the daughters of Issam and Julia was a child by the name of Ella. Ella, it turns, was the wife of Matt Freeman, and they were the parents of my grandfather, Joe Freeman. Doing my research of Betty and the Liggins, I would always gather any information on the Freemans and any Joe Freeman I came in contact with, in hopes that one day I would be able to connect the dots. When after a few years of getting nowhere with the records in California, we decided we would visit, or as he called it, go scouting for some information on a trip to Oklahoma, and see what we could find on Betty, Hadley, Mitchell, Gladys, and now I knew about Clarence, Mabel, and Nathaniel. I I was talking with my father about once a week over the phone and basically conducting interviews to gather whatever memories he had of his childhood. Like most black folks in the South, my father talked about Jim Crow, sharecropping, and having no formal education. He didn't grow up with his father after about the age of 5, and when his father died, he told me about a story when he and his older brother Clayton went to the county clerk's office to inquire about some land they knew their father owned, only to be told by the clerk, "Boy, you better get on away from Brown here. Don't nothing here belong to you." This obviously left them both with a bit of hatred for the South, and it developed a sense in them both that Oklahoma was not a place they wanted to live or raise a family. We have a wealth of information to tell us about our ancestors, and I have to consider myself as one of the lucky ones. It is because of the very nature of their relationship to the Choctaw and Chickasaw tribes that both my maternal grandfather and paternal grandparents left a record that allows me to know them to some degree. Of all of my great-grandparents, clearly Betty Ligon's story is the most compelling. She was the daughter of a Chickasaw man named Robert Howard Love and an enslaved woman named Margaret Ann Wilson. Betty was a lead litigant in a lawsuit by approximately 1,500 to 2,000 individuals who demanded to be enrolled as citizens of the Choctaw and Chickasaw nations as quote-unquote citizens by blood. Betty and the thousands of men, women, and children took their case all the way to the United States Supreme Court. But unfortunately, the case was never argued before the justices because an attorney failed to file a brief for the case to be heard in 1911. By 1912, Betty was deceased, and there has never been a recognition by the Choctaw or Chickasaw tribes that the men and women of Equity Case 7071 were entitled to the 320 acres or the equivalent of $15 to $20 million they sought in 1907, or their descendants are entitled to citizenship in the nations of their ancestors' birth.
All right, so another throwback. This is part 1 of a 2-part video series, or a series I'm working on as well. It says American Indian True Historic Descriptions and Never Before Seen Photographs and Images. So it's just a little bit about always, finding these books and how they're describing the Indians, what they look like, and some images that, go unnoticed. I just wanted to put this together. I did 2 parts of this. This is part 1 again. We're going to start right in the beginning. I go right from the beginning. I thought this was a really great find. I mean, how much more descriptive can you get, and who are they really talking about? That's you, all right? Listen to this. This is you they're talking about. I'm in the book here from the Smithsonian Institution Bureau of American Ethnology, Bulletin 73. It says The Early History of the Creek Indians and Their Neighbors by John R. Swanson. All right. And it says here on page 43, it says the Spaniards have visited several regions of that vast country, and they're like, I believe, in the area of South Carolina, North Carolina, where they first arrived in the 1500s. You caught my past videos. They're called Arambi, Guaycaya, Cuajate, Tansaca, and Pajor. Do you know the name? Do you ever heard of these names, these tribes? The color of the inhabitants is what? Dark brown. The color of the inhabitants is dark brown. None of them have any system of writing, but they preserve traditions of great antiquity in rhymes and chants. So we got inhabitants who are dark brown, who be rhyming and chanting. Rhyming, right? Rhyming, freestyling, chanting, rhymes, dark brown. Put it together. Dancing and physical exercises are held in honor, and they are passionately fond of ball games. They're very fond of ball games. Who does this sound like? Let's go again. Inhabitants are dark brown, right? They pass their time in rhymes and chants, and they're very fond of ball games, in which they exhibit the greatest skill. They're very good at it too. Alright, they're very good at it. They're fond of ball games and they're very good at it. They're dark brown. Their complexion is dark brown and they be rhyming. Who they talking about? So-called Negro? Alright, that was again part one of American Indian True Story Description. Never before seen photographs and images. Get the two parts. Catch the rest of it. It's really good. It's only 26 minutes, but it's really good. I got some other descriptive, some other books I haven't gone over in the on the other series from Indigenous American to African American. So get that drop. Alright, got this other link here that I had saved. Alright, and just looking at this image real quick. Alright, you see. So this is like American Indian or Aboriginal chief or king. You see the corn of plenty. All right, fertile land, rich. You got his jewelry on. All right, the people down back here. See the cities back here. All right, and this is the people under him. Just want to show you this. All right, you see that? Aboriginals. All right, you see how they're drawing them? That it's allegorical figures of America. All right, allegorical again. Here we go. All right, sit on the riches of the New World. Why are they always drawing a so-called Negro? Why? What's the need? And then now they're saying allegorical, right? They're trying to throw you off. Showing the riches of the New World, the fertile land, the promised land. Fertile land, the rich, the land of milk and honey, right? Decorative elements include cornucopia, the alligator, horned animals, domestic animals, knife, dismembered limbs. Scene of cannibalism. I didn't see that. Native Americans, black slaves. It says Native Americans, black slaves, or Native Americans with a question mark. You see how slick they're doing it? All right, they're playing with you right there. So we already know, right? We don't need to question that. Nah, let's keep it factual. American Aboriginals, indigenous people, original people of this land. Yeah, don't say or Native Americans. We don't know. Black slaves. Where in that picture do you see anything that says anything about slaves? How do you interpret slaves from that picture? All right. It says in chains, monks, Europeans, bows and arrows. All right, feather headdresses. This is from Louis Hennepin, 17th century. All right, 1698. All right, this is from 1698. Engraver was probably Jan Van Wylen. All right, this is from John Carter Brown Library. Again, what do you mean slaves? Where do you see slaves? How do you interpret slaves from this? All right, well, this dude got chained, or is that a chain he's wearing? All right, he said or Native Americans, right? They don't know. They don't know. So if they don't know, how they can tell us? How can they tell us what it is if they don't know, right? Drop Nation. Yeah. All right, so this is another throwback. This is part 2 from Indigenous American to African American. It says Black Californians, Mexican, Central American. We're actually an hour and 5 minutes in this video. If you haven't seen it, again, go back and check it out after this, and get to see that. I have a lot of info on this one as well. All right, and we're just gonna start from here. All right. I will read from this book now, Race Relations in Virginia and the Miscegenation in the South, 1776 to 1860 by James Hugo Johnston. Alright, so let me see. So let's start right here, right after it says schools. It says, in all the southern states there are found to be records of cases sent to the courts of appeals in which the litigants attempt to show that they are descendants of Indians and not of Negroes, and hence that they do not fall subject to the slave code. So you can see that from even a long time ago, you know, there was a lot of so-called Negro people that were Indian fighting for their right to be recognized as an Indian, Native American, and that they didn't fall under that slave code laws that they had in the South. They didn't want to be slaves because there was a lot of Indian, of course, there were so-called Negroes that were getting captured and you know, made slaves. So it says, continues, says, these cases add interest to the study of pedigree, but they must be considered as additional evidence of the extensive mixture of racial blood in the slave states. To the visitor in the South, the physical characteristics of many Negro slaves bore witness to their Indian origin. Again, so if you went to the South, you know, he's clearly telling you that you would notice that the physical characteristics of many of the Negro slaves bore witness to their Indian origin. Alright, and it says, in the states of South Carolina, early Negro Indian history was much influenced by conditions that resulted from the occupation of the territory to the south by the Spanish. Alright, so the Spanish were causing all this havoc down there and getting all these Indian native people enslaved. From early times, the Spanish and their Indian allies in Florida stole South Carolina slaves and harbored runaways from the South Carolina plantations. Alright, so you see, we're going to talk about that a little bit later, how the Spanish had a big influence on the enslavement of the Native American. Again, this is from James Hugo Johnston, right? A 1937 doctoral dissertation at Virginia State University. I'm going to read from this book now. It's called The History of Hernan de Soto in Florida, of records of the events of 56 years from 1512 to 1568 by Barnard Shipp, printed in 1881. All right, so let's get into it. It says in chapter 8, it says the number of leagues which the Spaniards traveled in Florida in a fight with the Indians of the coast. It says the Spaniards penetrated into Florida as far as to the fountains where the Chucagua takes its source. Agua is water in Spanish. And footnote says that the Chagua is the Mississippi River. The Spaniards crossed it about 100 miles by the river below Memphis. Alright, so that's the Mississippi they're talking about. So they went that far from Florida. It says this river to ascend from Aminoya, where was made the first embarkment as far as these fountains, is 300 leagues, and from this province to the sea 500, so that there extends altogether the distance of 800 leagues which our men traveled. It says during the 3 days that the Spaniards recruited themselves, they saw on the last day about noon, coming from a place full of reeds, 7 boats which advanced towards them. There was in the first a very large and very black Indian, of an aspect very different from those who inhabit the interior of the country. So he's saying that he saw a very large and very black Indian. How more, I mean, put an expression, you know, to the word black, says very black. So he's emphasizing how black the Indian appeared to him. Alright, so what could that mean? The barbarians of the coast are black in this manner. So even the barbarians of the coast are black in this manner, which is very black, because the sun is there warmer than elsewhere, and because they are continually in the water, which is salt. For the land being so big shout out to this Instagram page as well, Don Taeb22. All right, you see right here. And you know, if you like his content, follow him. He has a lot of good great content. I like what he puts up a lot. All right, and this especially, you know, this picture right here. All right, so first of all, let's see what it says. It's urban Cherokee Indian and tribal Tarina Indian from Louisiana on the left and from Brazil on the right. All right, let's get a close up. All right, now look at that. man, to me, man, they look a lot alike. They have the phenotype and everything, you know, like, yeah, man. At some point in some long, you know, ancestry, they might be related somehow, you know, from the same tribe. All right, that's the brother Don't Tab right there. All right. So this is one post out of many. He has a lot. It says the oil painting allegory of the abundance of the Americas. It sold for $30,000. You see that? Let me close up. See that? Allegory of the Americas, of the abundance. Remember the fertile lands. All right, the promised land. All right, a fertile land, promised land, abundance. That's you right there. All right, that's the indigenous aboriginal. All right, Amarukan. And just so you can see this. This is from the actual website, Doyle Auctions. All right, it says Dutch School 17th Century Allegory of the Abundance of the Americas. All right, here it is. Picture again. It says it sold for $30,000. All right, let's get a little bit of the info. 17th century. All right, lot 33. And it tells you a little bit of the description. Again, who is that? Alright. This is another great post by DonType22 on Instagram. And I was just reading over it. I was like, yeah, I think I have this book. And I hadn't, you know, I don't think I've read it out loud yet, this particular book. But it says here, the color. Well, let's start right here. It says, the authorities I have been able to examine, respect, and the present Negro appearance of the Indians in that region are as follow. The color of the Indians of the California missions seen by the La Peyros, Voyage 2, 197, 212, very nearly approaches that of the Negroes, whose hair is not woolly, and in another place, the color of these Indians, which is that of Negroes. Oh, man. So, what I wanted to do was basically, because I think I've seen this before, and I looked for it in my library and I actually found the whole book. So let's go to the book so we can see that the brother right here is posting facts. All right. So we're in the book called Researches, Philosophical and Antiquarian Concerning the Aboriginal History of America by J.H. McCullough, Jr., M.D. This is from 1829. All right. It's the book. We're going to go to page 25. And we're on page 25 again. We were talking about this region, the appearance of the Indians being of that of Negro, and we had the color of the Indians of the California mission seen by Le Perros, very nearly approaches that of the Negroes, all right, whose hair is not woolly, and in another place the color of these Indians, which is that of Negroes. Langsdorff, who visited San Francisco on the coast of California, confirms the observations of Le Perros, for he says, Voyage 440, the Indians there are of a very dark complexion. The Indians in Cali, West Coast are what? Very dark complexion. Very dark complexion. Approaching to what? Black. So-called black. Alright? They have large projecting lips and broad, flat, Negro-like noses. Indeed, many of their features as well as their physiognomy and almost their color bear a strong resemblance to the Negroes. Their hair, however, is long and straight. That is the only difference. As we cannot admit for a moment that these American blacks, yo, so-called black power, American blacks, these so-called American blacks were ever driven by stress of weather across the Pacific Ocean to California, unless it be proved they are the descendants of Negroes left by the Spaniards. It will follow of necessity that they have been settled in America from the earliest ages. From the earliest ages. They've been there since the earliest ages. You hear this, my people? You've been here. Your ancestors. Who? The American so-called what? Blacks. All right? There's no proof. Unless they can prove, they haven't been able to. This was written in 1829. They still haven't been able to. All right? Until they can prove it. That just shows you that you've been here settled from the earliest ages. You are from the cradle of civilization, the true old world, America. All right? So that's this book. It keeps going. All right? You want to keep going? Let's keep going. It says in another part of America, if reliance can be placed upon the correctness of the relation a race of blacks were seen at so early a period of our history that it seems impossible to avoid the conclusion that they were aboriginal. All right, they were aboriginal. Again, what? In another part of America, if reliance can be placed upon the correctness of the relation and race of blacks was seen at so early period of our history that it seems impossible to avoid the conclusion that they were aboriginal. They've been here, they've been seeing them as soon as they got here in the early part of their history. Since they got here, they saw you, your people, your ancestors, all over the Americas. Peter Martyr, in the third decade, page 97, is describing the journey of Balboa across the Isthmus of Darien, that's down over near Panama, Costa Rica, AD 1511. He gives the following history. There is a region not above 2 days' journey from Guarecua, in which they found only blackamoors, and those exceeding fierce and cruel. The circumstance of finding them there he attempted to explain by the conjecture that they were Ethiopians who had crossed the Atlantic to rob the country, and that after having been shipwrecked, they had been compelled by the natives to take refuge in the mountains. All right, so that's not exactly what he said, because we got the actual book where Balboa says that, and he says they must be, he was adding conjecture, he didn't know, he said there must be some Ethiopians that got shipwrecked here, but that wasn't proven at all. All right, but all this is pure guesswork. Look what it says, right? I wasn't kidding. That was just guesswork by Balboa, which we shall not attempt to disprove, for it is not more plausible than the supposition that they were aboriginal. All right, it's just as possible as them being aboriginal, because they have no proof. What is their proof? It is only.
All right, so now we're going to look at the Quechan tribe or people, Quechan. The Quechan, or Yuma, meaning Quetzan, those who descended, all right, those who descended, are an American tribe who live on the Fort Yuma Indian Reservation of the lower Colorado River in Arizona and California, just north of Mexican border. Members are enrolled into the Quechan tribe of the Fort Yuma Indian Reservation. The federally recognized Quechan's tribe main office is located in Winter Haven, California. Its operations and the majority of its reservation land are located in California, United States. All right, so more info there. Let's go look at the images. All right, we get this image right here right away. We're talking about very dark skinned people here. Look at their coarse hair, long. All right, you see. Alright, Quechuan Yuma people, aboriginals of this region. You gotta be, this is a very hot area, you know, you get a lot of sun. Alright. Alright, we have more images. Alright. Alright. More images right here. You see? Gotta dodge the hijack. This person will be considered an African American today. Alright. Quechuan. It almost sounds like the Quiche or in South America. All right, Quechua language. All right, the Inca spoke. You see, copper-colored tribes of America. Alright, Quechuan, Yuma, Arizona. Alright, again. Zoomed in. Alright, aboriginals of that area. Alright, copper-colored tribes of America. These people would be classified as African Americans today. Alright, or black, colored, whatever, mulatto, Negroes. Got this other image now. And this woman. Another Quechuan woman. Let me zoom in. Alright, you see how dark she is. Alright, you gotta prove she's Mongol, you know, because, you know, just because she's over there and she got long hair, but she's very, very dark skinned, you know, darker than a lot of so-called African Americans. Alright, and she's a Quechuan woman, aboriginal of this area, you know, like I'm showing you all these different aboriginals in all these parts of America. Alright. Alright, this is Jos Pocati, Yuma Quechuan, says 1872. Alright, might be a little mixed, might not be, but look at his dreadlocks. Do you see his dreadlocks? Alright. Look at his dreadlocks. You think that's a Rasta thing? Nutty dread. A wagwan. Alright, so just want to go through this museum's collection. This is the Rijks Museum in the Netherlands. This is the Rijks Museum. It's a Dutch national museum dedicated to the arts and history in Amsterdam. The museum is located at the Museum Square in the Borough, Amsterdam, south close to the Van Gogh Museum, the Stedelijk Museum Amsterdam, and the Concord Booth. It says the Rijks Museum was founded in The Hague on 19 November 1798 and moved to Amsterdam in 1808. Alright. It says the museum has on display 8,000 objects of art and history from their total collection of 1 million objects from the years 1200 to 2000, amongst which are some masterpieces by Rembrandt, Frans Hals, and Johannes Vermeer. Alright, the history says in 1795 the Batavian Republic was proclaimed. Alright, so this is a very old museum. It's no joke. They got a website, obviously now. We're in modern times, this is it. But they got their collections here. Alright, you can see, you can go visit that museum if you're ever in that area. Alright, they got really good stuff here. I'm about to show you right now. Alright, so we're going to start out with this image right here. Alright, first of all, this is the whole image right here. I'm going to close up for first. Let's read a little bit about it. And now I'm going to copy this. This is the description. Alright, we're going to go to Google Translate. We're going to paste it right here. And it's going to translate it to us. It says sheet with 4 representations of pairs of different American peoples, including Indians, Greenlanders, Mexicans, and Bolivians. Under each image a caption in 4 languages, numbered bottom right, number 9, right? So it says including Indians, 4 representations. Alright, I'm gonna go back. This is it right here, the 4 representations. Alright, but we're gonna zoom into the one that says Indianers, alright? Which is this one right here, Indianer. Alright, check it out. Copper colored tribes of America, darkest complexion. People in this whole image. Alright, check it out. You see, this is a tropical place. And this is supposed to be Greenlanders on this over here, and then some Mexicans over here in the bottom, colonists. But you see the Indians are the darker ones. Alright, then go to the next image. We got this one right here. It says Amerique, Le Americo, the America. Alright, let me just zoom in real quick. Alright, you see this guy? Alright, see a couple of Indians in the background. Some over here. You see over here. Let me just zoom into this part. See that? Alright. Alright, but this is a really good image right here. This is a great image. You know what I mean? I'm so glad I found this. This is really nice. Nice, beautiful depiction, beautiful drawing. Actually, so many things here, just symbolic to me. You know, you can think whatever you want of it. But let me just let's go to the description real quick. Let me just go ahead and let's go to Google Translate. All right, and it says North American couple, a North American couple in a canoe, Aboriginal couple, an Indigenous couple in a canoe. The man stands, he wears a long feathered headdress. The woman is sitting behind him, 2 feathers in her hair. It may be an Osage, alright? Osage, print from the series of Falbalas and Franchellus.
All right, 1922 to 1926. Let's go back. All right, this beautiful image right here. Let me just zoom in. All right, you see that? Do you remember who you are? That's you, so-called Negro. That's when you were majestic, with your feathered crown going all the way down. You got your apron, your Adam and Eve apron to hide your nakedness, right? Remember, look at this star of David right here. You can call whatever, yes. I know obviously it's not a Star of David, but that symbol is from America, right? The true old world. These are the same people they're talking about in the scripture. Same people. You see his queen, Aboriginal. Do you remember who you are, queen? Chiefess, princess, Aboriginal, Indigenous, woman. Alright, do you guys remember who you are together as a couple? You had a tribe. This is your land. Do you remember? Do you remember? Alright, so this is a throwback from part 1, right? The original part 1 first video of my series, my popular series called From Indigenous American to African American. I got 20 parts of this. This was the very first. I didn't even know how many parts I was going to do. I just wanted to put all this together, see how it went, how people felt about it. I'm like, man, look, it's so much evidence. And, you know, I was like, wow, I had like almost 2 hours here. Well, it's only an hour or something, but either way, I was like, I had still so much footage left to edit. And I was like, wow, I got like a couple parts to do. And, you know, now we're, you know, all the way past part 20, you know, so here it is again, and we're all the way in part 30, minute 37 in this video. All right, we're talking about this guy, Carlos Cuervo Marquez, who he is and what he wrote. All right.
From Carlos Cuervo Marquez, 1858 to 1930, ethnologist, botanist, military general, and historian, it says the Negro type is seen in the most ancient Mexican sculpture. The Negroes figure frequently in the most remote traditions of some American pueblos. It is to this race doubtlessly belongs the most ancient skeletons, distinct from the red American race, which have been found in various places from Bolivia to Mexico. It is likely that we repeat America was a Negro continent. Again, we repeat, America was a Negro continent. Carlos Cuervo Marquez from the Estudios Arqueológicos y Etnográficos, Volume 1, Madrid, 1920. So, you know, another correlation here, you know, everybody, but we always got static telling us, you can't believe everything you read on the internet, right? So the good thing is, I was actually able to find this book in Spanish, and let's read it together. So this is the cover of the book, Estudios Arqueológicos y Etnográficos. So let's get right into it. Alright, so I went to right to page 23, chapter 5, and it says here, Los Negroides en America, or the Negroes in America. Alright, so this is the part that I'm going to translate. So take a look at it. So what I did is I copy pasted this and brought it to Google Translate. Alright, let's take a look. So it translates to, says, several isolated but concordant facts allow us to suppose that before the formation and development of the three great ethnographic groups of which we have just spoken, the Pampas, Andeans, and Caribs, a large part of America was occupied by an inferior race of Negroid type. Okay? The conquerors found scattered throughout the New World small tribes that from the first moment were, and continuing, this is what I'm going to translate now, continuing. So again, remember we ended up with were, so it's, again it continues, were considered as belonging to the black race. Such were, for example, the Otomi from Mexico, the snails from Haiti, the Argajos from Cutara, the Arabos from Orinoco, the Porcejis and the Malayas from Brazil, the Manatus, Quito, the Chuanas, the Darien, etc. And just to finish up, this is the next part that I'm going to translate right here, so you can take a look at it before I take it to Google Translate. And it says, the skeletons of structure that are very different from those of the American red race, which in several parts of the continent have been found from Bolivia to Mexico, must be referred to this race. They're talking about the Negroid skeletons they found. Worthy of attention in this regard are the two skulls of exaggerated prognatism with a lowered forehead, very developed apophyses, and strong superciliary arches that in the Sumapaz Mountains found the illustrated Professor Dr. Juan de Dios Carrasquilla. So they're referring to another type of skulls, right? Negroid skulls being found in Sumapaz, that is Bogota, Colombia. So more correlation, right, of skeletons of Negro type or Australian type, right? Copper colored so-called Negro. All right. And so again, that was from the findings of Carlos Cuervo Marquez, Negroids in America. And you can see here some of the stuff in the book. Now I want to reference this other book. It's called Crania Americana, a comparative view. Skulls of various aboriginal nations of North and South America. All right. So I wanted to kind of belly flop to page 68. So continuing in this page, it says, a copper-colored skin has been assumed by most writers as a characteristic distinction of the Americans, who have hence been called some other and very remote nations.
Alright, that's part one again. This was way back in 2018. You know, I got a lot of views, and you know, you can, if you haven't seen this series again, you can, you know, go one by one. Alright, make sure to start with part one. Another great image and comparison here by the brother Charism. Again, make sure to like his page if you got Instagram and follow him for all these great work and images he does here. And this is again a Muskogee Indian. I've seen this image before. We've been able to verify this. And again, this is Kodak Black from Haiti. IT, right? He's a rapper now. Alright, look at that. Alright, do you remember who you are? A lot of the American Indians were sent to Haiti by the French and English. Alright, Spaniards. Alright, a lot of commerce for indentured servitude back and forth from there. Alright. And Indians. Two Indians right here. Another image here. It says the Naduwezi Sioux, also the same tribe as. It says Kyrie Irving and a lot of people here. And we just zoom into this. Alright, you see? It says Yolanda Ross. It says, damn dude, if that's not my nose and eyes, not confirmed, but I thought the band we were to come from was Sioux. Mom's side, Seminole, looks like me. Alright, you see that? That's an aboriginal right there, and that is an image. I've shown this in other videos I've had. All right, that is a historical depiction of a Naudowezi Sioux woman. All right, do you remember who you are? Look at that. Can't deny that. Got another image here. All right, another type of head wrap, right, that you see in all these bases of the Mayas back then. All right, and you compare with modern day head wraps that they use today. Same kind of style with the hair sticking out the back. You can see that curly hair, same as hers. All right, that's an aboriginal on both sides. All right, there's another image. He actually has a lot of comparisons with Melanesians and Australian Aborigines and South Fiji and Pacific Island Aborigines with Americans that we know, or just American people here in general, because it shows that we had our own Aboriginal people here with the same kind of phenotypes. This is even beyond that. Look at the whole culture. So it says America. These are California Indians. We've come across this image a lot. All right, I believe from San Jose, California, and then we got the Melanesian here on the right from Vanuatu, South Pacific. So you can see they got almost the same kind of painting and coloring in their bodies. All right, we go back here in America. Especially in California, a lot of black tribes in California, so-called black tribes in California. Just an example of what I was talking about, what he does, you know, like this one, you know, got this Melanesian, right, on the left, and then we got George Foreman on the right,
They do have kind of like similar phenotypes and look. All right. So, but he's an Aborigine from the Solomon Islands, right? Imagine. So this is what we're trying to explain. It doesn't mean that that George Foreman came from the Solomon Islands. It could be the other way around, right? It could be that this person from the Solomon Islands descends from the same people that George Foreman come from originally in the true old world, the antediluvians, right here in so-called Lemuria, Atlantis here, you know, what they call America. All right, this is throwback part 2, American Indian true historic descriptions and never before seen photographs and images. All right, I might make another part 3. I know I am, because I have so many books to go through, and they're always describing the complexion and how the Indians look. So we have numerous. If you go back through all my videos, we've seen a couple in this video, and we'll see a couple in this video. You know, they describing them, you know, copper color, dark brown, you know, dark complexions. All right. Hawa. All right. Now we're in this book. It's called The American Indian, Unish Inaba. The whole subject complete in one volume, illustrated with numerous appropriate engravings by Elijah M. Haynes, and this is what they show. And it says that this is written in 1888 by the Masing Nagang Company. All right. So what I wanted to show is in this part of the book, and start reading here. It says, a general description of the Indian tells us that the Aboriginal of America, again, the Aboriginal, not a Native American, the Aboriginal of America is tall, straight of stature and muscular, having coarse black hair, coarse, well-formed limbs, deep chest, brown or copper-colored complexion, again, brown or copper-colored complexion, head a little flat, prominent nose, compressed lips, dark eyes, and possessed of great power of endurance. In regard to the complexion of the American Indian, Father Charlie Vaux says, the color of the savages does not prove a third species between the white and the black, as some people have imagined. They are very swarthy. Swarthy, that means dark-skinned or so-called black, and of a dirty, dark red, ruddy, dark red, copper-colored, which appears more in Florida, of which Louisiana is a part. You see? So Florida was most of the southeast. I've told you this many times. I showed you the maps. Florida was basically the southeast of the United States, not just the state of Florida like we think today. It was big. All right, Louisiana was a part of Florida. All right, so even Louisiana, they were very what? The people in Louisiana were what? The native, the Indians, the Aboriginals were very swarthy, dark, and a dirty, dark red. All right, but this is not their natural complexion. He says, the frequent frictions they use gives them this red. It is surprising that they are not blacker, being continually exposed to the smoke in winter, to the great heats of the sun in the summer, and in all seasons to all the inclemencies of the air. So we're now in this book. It's called The Spanish Settlements Within the Present Limits of the United States from 1513 to 1561 by Woodbury Lowery. All right, and it says it's written in 1911. We're in chapter 2 of this book, and it says the natives and their customs. So in this very first sentence of this chapter, it correlates what we're talking about in this video. So it says, when first visited by the Spaniard, our continent was inhabited by copper-colored natives to whom, regardless of great diversity of type throughout its vast extent, the one name of Indian was generally applied by all European explorers alike. Again, Webster's Dictionary, where they tell us that the Americans are the copper-colored aboriginals, right, that the Europeans or the Spaniards encountered, right? So it's correlating. We already know what copper looks like, right? Especially these old copper pennies. A little further down it says, but as a rule, there was found a sturdy, vigorous race having the straight black hair and the high cheekbones, generally characteristic of the North American Indian, and having the peculiar olive admixture to the cinnamon complexion common to all southern tribes. Cinnamon, and we all know what cinnamon looks like, right? And who would actually have the complexion of cinnamon today? Alright, we're in this book now. It's called A New Voyage and Description of the Isthmus of America by Lionel Waffer. It says reprinted from the original edition of 1699. Alright, this is from way back, 1699. Edited by George Parker Winship, librarian of the John Carter Brown Library. Alright, and this edition was 1903. Alright. Again, the Isthmus of America, as you can see in this map, and Darien. All right, these two locations. All right, in these times, I just want to show you another map. So we got the Isthmus of America, where most of it is in Panama, or would be considered Panama today. A little bit of Costa Rica, sometimes even up to Nicaragua, all the way to Colombia down here. All right, so this would be the Isthmus of America, mostly Panama again. So we're on page 131. This is Waffer's Darians of the Indian inhabitants, their manners, customs. It says here 134. Their natural complexion is a copper color. Again, their natural, like from the soil. Their natural complexion is a copper color or orange tawny, and their eyebrows are naturally black as jet. Again, their natural complexion is copper color. All right, so I'm in this book because we're talking about the same region of the Isthmus of America, or Darien, or Panama. So I got this other book called Old Panama and Castilla del Oro by C.L.G. Anderson. And it says that this is a narrative history of the discovery, conquest, and settlement by the Spaniards of Panama, Darien, Veragua, Santo Domingo, Santa Marta, Cartagena, Nicaragua, and Peru. All right, so that's like the whole area, like southern Mesoamerica, and all the way into like Colombia and Peru. All right, so it says that this book includes the 4 voyages of Columbus to America, the discovery of Pacific Ocean by Vasco Núñez de Balboa, a description of the aborigines of the isthmus. All right, so that's what we're going to get into. All right, and in this book, we're about 50 pages in. The book doesn't have numbers, just goes by chapters. But I wanted to read this part here, very important, so you can know. All right, it says, the aboriginal people of the Bahamas, right? The Lucayans, discovered by Columbus, were a tall, graceful, dark-skinned race of barbarians. All right, dark-skinned race. They call them barbarians. They call you savage. They call you devils. All right, but they're the savage ones. They're the barbarians. Barbary. Who's coming from Barbary? All right, we're tall, graceful, dark-skinned race. They were gentle and loving, quite unlike their cousins on the mainland. They were loving and gentle. Or their fierce neighbors to the south, the Caribs, who dwelt in the Lesser Antilles. They possessed pottery and stone implements like celts, arrowheads, mortars, and pestles, and were experts in the use of their canoes. Columbus well described them. All of them go as naked as they came into the world. Their forms are graceful, their features good, their hair as coarse, right, as coarse as a horse tail, cut short in front and worn long upon their shoulders. They are dark of complexion. They are dark of complexion. They are dark of complexion like the Canary Islanders, right? So they're quoting Columbus journals, right? Because this is the chapter they're talking about his first voyage. All right, like the Canary Islanders, all right, and paint themselves in various colors. They do not carry arms and have no knowledge of them. For when I showed them our swords, they took them by the edges and through their ignorance cut themselves. So in the next page it says, such were the timid, innocent aborigines of the Bahamas. It's still talking about the Lucayans, all right, living and eating like simplicity and happiness in their island homes. They were living in Eden. What did we tell you? This is the true old world. Remember when they came here, if you saw my part 2 of Untold Ancient American Truth, they found you living like the golden people of legend, like the Atlanteans, like the people living in Hesperides. That's how they found you in Hispaniola and all these islands in the Caribbean. And then when they went into the firm land, as they call it, the Florida and South America and Central America, even more, they saw, you know. So you were living in Eden like simplicity and happiness. All right, we got to go back to that. And what happened? All right, what happened? You know, how did we fall off? How did this happen? You know, very important subject nowadays to think about. All right, respect to Big Judah and all the people teaching this connection with you know, the sacred book, the Torah, and you know, because you are the book, right? You were living and eating like simplicity because you are the people of the book. All right, just 20 years later, when the Spaniards had exterminated nearly all the natives of Hispaniola, all right, don't, you know, dodge the hijack, exterminated, yeah, you know, they reduced the population a lot. They were dying from disease and overwork and a lot of suicides and a lot of escapes. All right, so what did they do? They stole away the Lucayans, who were living and eating like simplicity and happiness. All right, the ancestors living and eating like simplicity. They got stolen, they got taken away, put in ships, and sent to where? And sent by a total of 40,000 to slave in the mines and on the plantations of Hispaniola. But when you go study this history, when they start talking about Hispaniola and how they were losing the population, that local population, they had to get Negroes, right? They tell you they came from Africa, right? They switched the narrative. But right here, clearly letting you know that they stole the aboriginal, this innocent, timid, Eden-like people, gentle, you know, loving, you know, peaceful people, and made them go slave in the mines on the plantations of Hispaniola. That's Dominican Republic and Haiti today. In about 50 years, these people became extinct, it says. All right, so dodge the hijack. You're still there. All right, they couldn't get rid of all of you. All right, so remember, these are dark-skinned people. Dark-skinned people. All right, and these were not Africans. All right, that was again part 2 of American Indian Tourist Story Description. Make sure to get the whole video. Some good info on that one. All right, we're in this website I had here saved up. I don't know how to pronounce this. It's like the Rijksk Museum. It's RIJKS Museum.nl, I believe, Netherlands. They got like all this fancy stuff here and collections over there, you know. But they got this painting here. Just wanted to show you. All right, this one right here. Just gonna zoom into it real quick. All right, you see this? And it says Lima, Callao de Lima, Lima, Peru. All right, this is from 1726 here. It says in Buenos de Callao, all right, whatever that means. All right, but these are American Indians from Lima, all right, Peru. All right, see that? I guess this book right here, that's where you get this image from. This book right here from 1726. All right, but they're letting us know. All right, so they drawn, you know, some American Indians right here, Peruvians from Lima. All right, some Aboriginals from there. You see, copper color tribes of America. All right, so now look at this image. It's from the same museum. All right, very interesting. I'm going to show you now. All right, this is not painted in America, but I believe in China. All right, this is from the 1700s. All right, so let me just zoom in. All right, you see these two individuals. We're going to see who they are. I see the rest of the people here. All right, but all right, we're going to talk about these two individuals right here. All right, that's why I saved this link. I thought it was very interesting. We're talking about the Nagas and all these Dragon Kings and all that. Oh, you see this? Ooh, you see another one right here with his feathers on. All right. All right, so here it is again, zoomed out. All right, just gonna go read the description right here. It says this tile panel with a Chinese landscape, anonymous. This is from the 1700s. All right, it says this tile panel was probably part of a wall covering in a room in a palace. All right, this was in a palace. The decoration is remarkably bold. The figure of Guanyin, a Buddhist deity, at the upper right is based directly on a Chinese woodcut. The striking black figures, listen to this, the black figures, the black, so-called black, the black figures represent Brazilian Indians. Those are Brazilian Indians and were added to make the scene more exotic. Those are Brazilian Indians. They were added. All right? Those are the Brazilian Indians. You see that? Brazilian Indians. All right, you see that? That's how they depicted the Brazilian Indians in China in the 1700s. All right, check this one out with his gold and everything. See the feathers all around him? Jamming over there. He's jamming in China, showing them how to dance and stuff. All right, Brazilian Indians. All right, this is official. This is in a museum. All right, this was in a Chinese palace. All right, Brazilian Indians. There you go, so-called Negroes, Aboriginals. All right. All right, just another image from this museum. There's a lot of good paintings and drawings they got up there in that museum. And guess what? Yeah, this is in America. They show the Aboriginals a little bit. But what is the most interesting thing about this is that there's an elephant, right? Can anybody address the elephant in the room? All right, let's go to the script. Well, look at the bottom. Let me just zoom into that. America, right? It says America right here, right? Does it say anything about allegorical here in the image? Let's go to the description, all right? Now it says America represented allegorically. All right, subject, what? Trunked animal, elephants? This is from 1700s. All right, let's go back. They're hunting elephants up in America, all right? Told you that
ancestors, the bones and all that of the ancestors of the elephants was found here in America, just like in Europe, just as old. All right, we know all mammals and all that came out of here, America. Check out my ancient American animal video. All right, here we go. Why they drawing elephants here? Aboriginals hunting elephants. This ain't no allegory. And of course, another post by our brother here, Don Type 22, who is copper colored, right? This is the copper penny. This is an Aboriginal of America, an indigenous person. All right. All right. Any questions? Who is copper colored? Who is the copper colored Americans, as it describes in Webster's 1828 dictionary for the word American, meaning the Aboriginals or copper colored races that were here when the Europeans arrived. Copper colored. All right. All right, another one here from Don Type 22. All right, this is how they used to do the statues in these old smoke shops, these tobacco smoke shops, you know. Any questions? Darker than a lot of so-called Negroes in these states, right? Like, you know, there's a lot of light-skinned Negroes, you know, like mulatto looking. He's even darker than that. And these, you know, people today would call these people Mongol just because they have the hair like that, you know, and they don't understand. But, you know, good looking out, brother. Don't tie up for putting this on here, letting us know, you know, it's the same people. That's your ancestors, how they were depicting them too. Another post here from Don Type 22 says there was a lot more going on in the Americas than what they tell you. All right, and this is actually the murals in the temple of Bonampak. All right, this is Bonampak right here. Inside this temple, this is what they found on the walls. It's covered with aboriginals that they painted themselves. They depicted themselves like this. And this ain't no black paint they got on, like they try to say that these people painted themselves black for ceremonial purposes. And that's not true at all. These are aboriginals. You can see the hair wraps, the dreadlocks, everything. All right. Bonampak murals. All right, so we're in this other website, another link I had here stored. This is a website that has a lot of pictures of American Indians. It's called firstpeople.us, and there's like a gallery. Just want to, because I'm about to get into the Yankton tribe and the other book, the Book of North American Indians. So I had this link here, so I might as well just show this as well. So you see here, all right, we have an Aboriginal, a Yankton man right here. See that? Or his headdress. All right, his fringes, his breastplate, all right, with the bones. All right, you can see. All right, see his complexion, very dark. All right, so ain't no Mongol. All right, so Yankton, we're about to go ahead and look at the Yankton tribe right now. Just wanted to show this image here from this website they got. All right. A Yankton man. We're still in the Book of North American Tribes, Chiefs, Warriors, and Their Stories. We're in the part, we're going to take a look at the Yankton information and images. The Yankton Sioux. The Yankton Sioux tribe of South Dakota is a federally recognized tribe of the Yankton Western Dakota people, located in South Dakota. Their Dakota name is Ihang Tongwang Dakota Oyate, meaning people of the end village. Historically, the tribe were the protectors of the sacred pipestone quarry for the Oseti Sakowin. The tribe maintains the free range and bison herd. All right. And we begin with He Dog. You see? He Dog. What up, He Dog? All right, that's his name. So we're gonna back up. I'm zoomed in. All right. This is a Sioux delegation. All right. That's Ring Thunder and XM Crow Dog and Ring Thunder, yo. We got Blackbeard right here in front of him. All right, we got Swiftbeard. We saw Swiftbeard earlier. All right, with his brother. So I got his hand around him. Little Wound, Swiftbeard and Little Wound. All right. This is Pawnee Killer. He's a Pawnee Killer, man. That's why they named him Pawnee Killer, man, because he be killing the Pawnee. Then it's got Shoulder right here. You got Shoulder right here. Alright. Alright, so this is Sioux Chief Delegation. Says trip to Washington 1870. 5. So there's a delegation of different chiefs on there, right? You got He Dog. Alright. Forget that. And we got a Yankton. It says Madbeer Yankton Dakota Sioux Matu Wheat Ko or Mato Wheat Ko Yanktonai Sioux. Alright. And then we got Tipisa or TP Shah, a Yankton Sioux from 1872, Red Lodge. Alright, zoom in a little bit to him. And then we got, it says Yankton Sioux known as grizzly bears, nose pictured white pipe, wampum, and a feathered headdress, taken in 1872. Alright, see that? American Yankton Sioux Indian, Aboriginal, copper-colored tribes of America. Don't play.
Spanish. Alright, so real quick, just want to show you what I found in this book. It's a Spanish book. It's called Historia del Descubrimiento y Conquista, History of the Discovery and Conquest of America. So it's written in German by the celebrated Campe and translated to Castellano, which is the old Spanish, by Don Francisco Fernandez Villabrille. Alright, so this was written in 1845. Alright. Alright, and I found this inside the book. It's like one of the only images. There's like 2 or 3 images in this book, and this is one of them. Alright, so check it out. It's a so-called negro or negro. This is American Indian Aboriginal. Alright. And in the bottom it says Jefe Indio or Indian Chief. Indian Chief. In the bottom it says Jefe Indio or Indian Chief. Alright, do you remember who you are? This is your land. Alright, Amaru Khan. Alright, so we're back in the John Carter Brown Library, Archive of Early American Images, and here we have basically some black Caribs, alright? Some black Caribs. Just gonna read the description for you. It says, black Carib rulers or chiefs stand before British soldiers. A seated man extends his arm toward them, while another reads from a document. Another soldier stands nearby with a map, also includes guns or muskets. Thought to represent the climax of the First Carib War, when a treaty was made in 1773 between the British and the black Carib chiefs in St. Vincent. Alright, so this is in St. Vincent between black Carib chiefs. Alright, dodge the hijack with black. We're just talking about Caribs, alright, Aboriginals of America. So dodge the hijack with black. We're just looking at Caribs, alright? Caribs, alright? Aboriginals of St. Vincent, Caribbean, possibly other parts of America, alright? Alright, this is another map. It says fascinating map of the southeastern part of the United States based on largely upon Sampson's map of Florida from 1657. Alright, let's zoom in. Alright, so who do you see here? Alright, these are Americans or the Americans. Tamari, Khans, priest kings, the Khans. Alright, the plum serpent, the snake kings, priest kings, all right, Amaru Khans. All right, real quick, I've shown this image before, and I think I showed it in other videos, but just wanted to show you where I got it from. All right, this is from the American Philosophical Society Library. This is an archive of 2 Tepecano women, native attire. All right, just take a look at them. This black and white photograph of 2 Tepecano women in native attire standing in front of a straw and stone dwelling, Jalisco, Mexico. All right, so take a very good look at them. All right, these are Aboriginal women from Mexico, Jalisco, Mexico, Tepecano, American Aborigines, Tepecano tribal women. All right, from Mexico. All right, we're still in the John Carter Library, John Carter Brown, Archive of Early American Images. All right, and it says this is a group of Native Americans. They stand and kneel before King George I, actually George II, of England, who is seated on the throne. Includes feathered headdresses and clothing, quiver of arrows, eagle feathers, and necklace. All right, and this is from the book. I have it also, but I just wanted to show you this one because this one's a good image. All right, it's from the World Displayed, or a curious collection of voyages and travels selected from the writers of all nations. That's in volume 5. All right, from 1760. All right, publication of this book. All right, Indian chiefs making speech to King George I. You see, copper-colored, so-called Negro. So it says that in 1734, James Otto Thorpe brought the Native Americans Tomochichi Miko, or King of the Jama Cross, Senakwi, his consort, Tonakowi, his nephew, Hilipili, Apakotski, Stimelechi, Sintuchi, Hinguti, and Umpichi, and 5 other chiefs with their interpreter to the English court at Kennings. All right, so now we continue with some more images. We're in this book. It's called Heroes and Hunters of the West, comprising sketches and adventures of Bone, Kenton, Brady, Logan, Wetzel, Fleehart, Hughes, Johnston. And this is from 1855. All right, real quick. So just here, right, almost close to the beginning, we got this. It says Capture of Bone, and this is the American Indian they're showing. You see the difference in the complexion with the light-skinned European and the indigenous person right here. We also got this image right here. You can see it shows, says Massacre of Miss Wetzel and her children. So, all right.
All right, so yeah, again, that's part 1. I've never before seen historical depictions and images of American Indians. Make sure to get the whole drive. Go back if you haven't seen that. It's all images, all images. I got 2 parts of this. All right. Got another image here. Then and now. Different names, same people. Right? It says the Mayan man and Kawi Leonard. Kind of got the same smile and everything. See that? Let me back up. Alright. See that? Alright, we're gonna hear, well, I like this image and the video here. We got this before in one of my videos. We got ODB, Old Dirty Bastard, letting us know who he comes from, who his tribe is, and part of his family. Alright. See the image on the left? That's Indians from New York. We got that from 1671. We got that before as well in the historical description on it.
Drinking problem for a while or something?
Well, it wasn't really. It just, the Indians don't really get too along with the firewater, and
Are you an Indian?
Yes.
Oh, really?
Oh,
I thought you were a black guy.
Hey.
You're Indian?
Yeah.
Oh, come on, man.
Yeah.
You gotta be
What kind
kidding
of
me.
Indian are you?
Like Tonto Indian?
Shinnecock Indian.
Really? You're a Shinnecock?
Yes.
His family was here when Columbus landed, huh?
Is that right?
Yes.
So you are not a black man, you're an Indian.
I'm an Indian. Yes.
You could-
So you're not a black man, you're an Indian. Alright. Howard Stern trying to be a wise guy. Alright, that's all they know how to how to be like. Alright, but alright. He was a Shinnecock, alright, just in case you forgot. Alright, another great image. These 2 look just to me just alike. Alright, so we got, I believe her name was Diana. I forgot her name, the tribe, either Seminole or from the southeastern tribes. And then we got a Trinidad and Tobago person, a lady right here. They look so alike, you see, same people, almost same tribe probably they come out of at some point. Alright, do you remember who you are? Alright, Irie, is that her name? Diana Fletcher, I believe this person's name is on the left, the Indian over here, the Aborigine. Alright, look at the same face. You got this famous images that we already know who they're depicting. Alright, let me just zoom in. Alright, it says Negroes here, but look how they're dressed over here. We got Indians with the tobacco, then we got an Inca over here, same thing, right? You see Inca dressed the same. Then we got some Indians on the map here on the left, dressed just like the Virginia tobacco Indians, just like the Negroes they're selling here. These are all Americans is the point. Alright, these Negroes are not African slaves. They're Indians from the Americas. Get that through your head, your thick head. Alright, Aborigines, these are people that were bringing up and saying these were the Negroes mixed with Indians. Now these are just other Aborigines that were coming up.
thought this was another great comparison. What I was saying earlier about how he compares that. Again, another person from the Solomon Islands, another Aborigine Melanesian. And then we got Lloyd Avery II. All right, from here, look at the similarity. It's the same, you know, these people came out of the same original tribe. All right, this is an Aboriginal from America. It doesn't mean he's from the Solomon Islands. And he's not from Africa, because this dude on the left is not even from Africa. He's from the Solomon Islands. So if you want to say he descends from him, either way, he wouldn't be African, right? He would be from the Solomon Islands. All right, but either way, that's an Aboriginal from here, from America, who looks just like another Aboriginal from Melanesia, scattered throughout the world. All right, this is another throwback. It's part 2 of never before seen historical depictions and images of American Indians. All right, another hour of just pure images, of a lot of images you might have seen, you might have not seen. It's a collection of them, of representing, you know, the copper-colored tribes of America, so-called Negroes, or the Aborigines, the original people, in its many complexions and forms here of copper. All right, this is just a short. All right, let's go.
I want to show you this image. It's called the Cacique Cangapol of Huechin and his wife. All right, you see that? So-called Negro. Do you remember who you are? All right, the Aboriginals, the Amarucans. All right, and this is from, it says it's a portrait of Native American man and woman, includes the source creator of this is Samuel Ho, Will Coakley. Source title, History of the Viceroyalty of Buenos Aires. That's in Argentina. Some American Indians from Buenos Aires, Argentina. Come on, look at that. Did you know that's what the Argentinians look like, the original? Take a look. Does this look familiar, like any of your family members? And this is from 1807, all right? 1807. Again, the Cacique Cangapol of Huechin and his wife. All right, so now we're in this book by Bernardino de Sahagún, or the Fray, or the Father. He was here during the conquest in Mexico, very famous primary source historically. He has a lot of volumes. This is one of his volumes, volume 6, History of the Things of New Spain. All right, and it's some basically interpretations of some codices that he basically copied, same ones that are in the prestige libraries, that same ones that Lord Kingsborough has in his Antiquities of Mexico. All right, so this was written in 1905, but this is basically something that he wrote in the 1500s. All right. All right, so right almost in the beginning of the book, all right, you can see his old writing, his original, and then look at the images, all right? These are so-called Negroes, you see? All right, so look at the images, why they painted the people this way. This is from the codices. All right, so who's the original Mexica? You see how they painted them, very dark skin. All right, and more images, so you see you know, this one's not dark, but these all are. You see how they're all dark? All right. All right, from the original codices, as you can see. All right, you can distinguish the difference. We're in the original Mexican codices, all right, Mexica people that they found here, exact copies. Look how they depicted themselves. All right, you see this? See the very dark skin color? There's no mistake. All right, so you can see they got like these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 persons with, you know, dark skin appears, and these 2 light-skinned people. All right. So you can see the comparison. There's like head wraps and stuff. And more images right here. All right. All right, so let me just show this part. All right, look at this brother right here. I know some of this is very blurry, but as you can see, they're depicting so-called Negroes. As you Here, these are all so-called Negroes right here in these codices. All right, the original Mexica. All right, another image right here. All right, it's hard to see the name, but check it out. It's so-called Negro. All right, these Mexican codices. All right, the original Mexica, Aboriginal. All right, another image again. It's a little blurry. This is Shijone. Shijone. All right. Another image right here, as you can see. The original Mexica. And it keeps going. This is Vikstochitla. Alright, check it out. This almost looks Egyptian. If you see this in an Egyptian wall, you know, with the one-sided, you know, face. You know, looking only seeing one side, only one eye. Alright, you see this? The so-called Negro, they're being depicted right here in this codice, original Mexica, head wraps and everything. Alright, so we just passed this light-skinned person right here. Look at this one. It says Tomia Tekkutli. This is a brother right here. This is original Mexica. This is an aboriginal. Did you know this was in a Mexican codice? How come they never showed you this in school? History class. How come they never showed you these codices in these books? How come they didn't put this in textbooks? Huh? Look at that. Says Napate Kuti. Look at this. With his crown and everything. Alright, check it out. Brother right there. Original, aboriginal, Mexican, Mexican. And see the difference is light-skinned person right here or lighter. Look at this. Very distinguishable, right? This is another image a lot further down in the book. You see this person, very dark skin. Alright, we got some more images here. These are some warriors right here now. See that? That was you. Alright, that was you as the warrior, alright? Talking about Black Panther. Alright, another one right here. Alright. Another image right here in this codice. Alright. By Bernardino Sahagún, bringing this to us, copying it for us and putting it in his book. You see that? That's your ancestor right there. Ready for war. And right under him, another one of your ancestors right here, ready to go to war as well. Alright, you see all these so-called Negroes in these Mexican codices? These ain't slaves, these ain't Africans. These are Amarucans, aboriginals. Amarucans, the Khans, the priest kings. You see this? Look at his features. You can't deny who that is. Alright, very clear image right here. Alright, see what's going on? See who was really here in Mexico originally? Alright, these ain't so-called Africans.
Alright, and it keeps going again. That was just the first 11 minutes. It's a whole hour of non-stop images and historic depictions. It's really good, this part actually. I think it's a lot, you know, images here. Alright, again, that was part 2. Never before seen historical depictions, images of American Indians. We just saw from Bernardino Sahagún's book. That's from the 1500s. Alright, this is from part 3, from Indigenous American to African American, Aztec slaves in Jamaica, Mosquito Pegasus. We're just gonna get a message here from some brothers, some famous you know, basketball players, you know, trying to let you know something. Pay attention.
When we look at, so I'm like you guys. I celebrate American history, which is our history, every month out the year. And I hope that for parents and kids that go home, now we have the internet, now we have tools at our hand. And no, you aren't being taught Black American history in schools, but now we can still go out and find that history. It's not like when we grew up and maybe it was buried someplace in the encyclopedia. All you gotta do is go type in some words and you can get it right now and understand where you've come from and how special you are.
Can I just end with this one thing? These four brothers sitting here, we didn't all come from Africa. And there was a there was a country before 1492, and our history goes way beyond 1492. So you can't start us at 1492. We were always here. We were always here. We were always here. We were always here.
All right, got another post here. We got American colored aboriginals. All right, doesn't say what tribe or who they are, but it's a nice post. As you can see, that's you, the real American Indian. Here's another one. All right, an elder, a queen, and this old photo in her native attire, her indigenous attire. All right, do you remember who you are? Got another pose here, and this is actually Wampanoag. We know her, we've seen her. All right, descendant of Massasoit. All right, her mom was a famous known American Indian in the area. All right, I think her name is Talawima, something like that. All right, and this pose I thought was really good. It says, an alkaline nose, let me just zoom in. An alkaline nose is a very common characteristic that many Amarucan people have. Be part of your Amarucan features. All right, see the pointy nose, and then it has the hook right here. You know, we see a lot of the walls in the Maya temples with this nose. You know, it's not just the flat, big nose, you know, even though that's a common thing too. There's, you know, you guys have every phenotype. You know, this is the true old world. I actually have the same nose, especially like this dude right here. My bone comes up in the top and it's pointing towards the bottom. All right. So it's many phenotypes, not just one. And we got another pose here, and again, another allegorical painting, right? It's always an allegory. When you see a so-called Negro being represented for America, especially in these times, 1600s, 1700s, 1800s, and we see them now, they're going to tell you, well, no, that's just an allegory. It's not meant to be real. No, you know what you were doing when you painted these. These are the aboriginals. Stop lying. All right, that's what they look like. That's so-called Negroes. All right, what they call an African American today, by mistake, wrongfully. All right, and this is by Albert Eckhout. All right, Albert Eckhout from 1610. 1610. Thanks for posting this, brother. And another post here. I mean, I think I see the resemblance. You know, whether he is an ancestor of hers or not, doesn't matter. But he does. They have the same phenotype. Look. I mean, she looks just like him. She looks like him. I don't, you know, whatever you want to say. All right, so he's John Mao from the Bannock. All right, an Aboriginal legend, it says. And this Queen Khalifa, right? Yeah, the hair, but Kurimeo, that's a Mongol. Oh man, that's your prejudice. You can't even prove he's a Mongol. Show me his genealogy. And this is another pose on Don Taib too, even though this is actually from Ab the Legend. So much love and shout out to Ab the Legend for bringing these images to us, you know, for years now. And I thought this was a very good one, sample. All right, and it says Creek Indians that went to Oklahoma after the Trail of Tears. All right. And then it says down here, same tribe, a Creek Indian that didn't leave the South. And if you don't know who this person is here, that is very light-skinned and that you might even call a Mongol, if you put her next to certain people you think are Mongols, you know, but this is Rosa Parks, right? Rosa Parks, right? They call her a Negro, an African-American, right? Same people right here, you know? You're not supposed to look the same. You're not always going to look like that West African stereotype. All right, America had many different type of phenotypes, many different type of hairs, many different type of complexions. This is the true old world. Can you get that through your head? All right, and App the legend, a legend in this community, right, is letting you know some quick ceramic and pottery from Don Type's page post he has made. This one right here. I mean, look at her. Right, we've seen this before. Look at those legs. We already know, and this is from Ecuador. Right, we've shown this before. All right, and we got this one right here. Look at that. Come on. Teotihuacan from Mexico. Teotihuacan. All right, look at that. Who's that right there? You would find this in Africa. They wouldn't say anything about it being Mongol. You wouldn't even say nothing about the eyes. You say, yeah, that's an African. Look at the earrings. You know, look at the hair wrap. You know. Oh man, look at this dude. Wow. He looks like somebody in this community. I'm not gonna say the name though. But look at that. Alright, this is from Peru. Alright. That's granddad right there. Got this other one here. We've seen this one a lot. This is from the Moshe people in Peru. Look at that, man. Who is that? Ain't no Mongol. It's an Aboriginal. Moshe, Meshi, Moshika, Meshi, Moshe, Moses, what? Moshe, Meshe. All right, so again, this brother has so much posts, really good posts. I follow him, man. He's great post. Just look at one more right here, or two more right here. All right, look at this post right here. All right. Look, types of American Indians, not curly. A swarty brown, a swarty black brown, a black dark brown, dark copper, or cinnamon color skin, a heavy bro. All right, we got that book. We've gone over that book. Look at these people. All right, all Indians. And this last image right here. Look at this. This is John Ogilvy's book of America in the 1600s. A lot of you know this book. Alright, America. What? Full of so-called Negroes. Or Morenos. Alright, Aborigines, Indigenous people, the American Indians. Alright? But thanks, brother, for posting this, man. And make sure that if you like his page, check it out, follow him. Alright? Don Taeb. Alright, now we're gonna see the Maricopa people. Tribe is the Maricopa Pipach are indigenous peoples who live in Salt River Pima Maricopa Indian community and Gila River Indian community, along with the Pima, a tribe with whom the Maricopa have long held a positive relationship, right? The Pima and Maricopa. The Maricopa at the Salt River Pima Maricopa Indian community consists mostly of Shalishidum Pipach members and are concentrated in Lehigh. The Maricopa at the Gila River Indian community are concentrated in Maricopa Colony. The Maricopa are a river human group formerly living along the banks of the Colorado River. Alright, so let's go look at the images. Alright, look at this image right here. Very hard to see, but yeah. Aboriginal. Alright, dodge the hijack. There's bow and arrow. Alright, let me back up a little bit. Now you see that? Maricopa. Alright. Alright, now we got another image here. Again, another very hard to see because these were very small images. And when you try to blow them up, they're pixelated. You know, I've tried the same. I've run into these images before, but look at this Aboriginal. So that he would be considered so-called African American. Alright. You know, anybody would think just because if there wasn't the hair, like, oh, was that an African? Alright, but you know, you probably might think this is fake, but this is not fake at all. This is Maricopa, American Indian. Alright, not everybody's the same. Not everybody lived in palaces and everything, alright? In castles. Different nations here, different peoples. This is a true old world, alright? He got his bow and arrow. And we got another Maricopa here. Playing his little instrument there, I guess. Got dreadlocks. Alright. He got dreadlocks. Alright. Dodge the hijack. Look at this. Says Maricopa warrior, wife and child. Alright. Maricopa warrior, wife and child. You check it out. Look at his hair, his dreadlocks going down. His daughter and his wife, I guess, or one of them, either or. Not exactly sure. But you see, these are aboriginals. All right. These ain't Mongols, not to me. I don't think these are Mongols. You know, these are aboriginals of this region of America. All right. Look at this. Maybe they might be mixed, but we'd have to prove that, right? These are pure blood Maricopa Indians. All right, now take a look at this image right here. It says Maricopa Indian, Arizona, United States of America, 1875. Aboriginal of this area, Arizona, an aboriginal, alright? Dark complexion, copper colored, so-called Negro. He would be classified as an African American today. Give him a hoodie, cut his hair up, put him in the hood. Oh, all of a sudden he's a black, right? All of a sudden he's a black American. All of a sudden he's an African American. Alright, this ain't no slave. This is a Maricopa aboriginal of this area of the United States. Another great image I thought here says phenotypes of America, Mayan, and Victoria Santa Cruz. I believe she was a Peruvian, an aboriginal Peruvian or Bolivian. All right, you gotta get into her story. Make sure to research Victoria Santa Cruz. All right, but just look at the phenotypes on this pottery statue here of the Mayan and her. Same people. All right, look at that. Same people. And another great image here says Negro urban. Alright, Negro equals urban. That says the so-called Negro is the Indian. Alright, Indian equal tribal. Alright, you see that? Those are Aborigines. These aren't Mongols. Alright, don't generalize. Could be your ancestor. Another great image here. Says tribal, urban, right? Tribal and urban. Wiz Khalifa, right? It says Wiyugu Monduruku from Brazil. All right, we got the original book in one of my videos where we got this image from. Go check it out. I believe it's never before seen images. Name of the video. And again, Wiz Khalifa all tattooed up. He's all tattooed up. Phenotypes. Look at that. All right, great image from our brother Karuism. Make sure to hit like on his Instagram. Another great image here says Mayan base. Alright, and Queen Latifah. So you think that's an African thing? See the hat? Alright, true old world. Where's the true Egypt? Alright. Even your Pan-African regalia is from America. Karuism, man. Make sure to go follow his Instagram and like. Great work. Another great image here. Alright, then and now. Alright, what is this? This is a Uaxtum Maya and a Rasta from Jamaica. Alright. Oh, you thought that was African too, that hat thing? Oh, sorry. Aboriginal. Trendsetters, you understand? True old world, the trendsetters. Art, culture, all that. You know, trendsetters. Alright. That American Mayan phenotype. Alright. Don't sleep. Tribal, urban. Alright. Same culture in different corners, like the brother Karuism is saying. Make sure to follow the Instagram. Alright. See? You remember who you are? And your temples, look at the temples in the background. Alright, we got this great image here. Brother Karuism again, and says then and now the face of Americas, the Olmec head statues, and the brother Sam McVeigh. Alright, Karoism, Instagram. Alright, and the brother has a lot more images and presentations and all kinds of different things, actually, not just that, original, but a lot of things, hidden things, and a lot of knowledge in his page. So make sure to go follow his Instagram. Again, is Karuism. Here it is again. Alright, we're in this video. Is another throwback here. This is actually my video I did on Tituba.
You know, Tituba was actually the person that was blamed in the Salem witch trials. You don't know the story of the Salem witch trials up in Massachusetts, New Hampshire area. You know, and she was blamed for being the first witch. Like, you know, she was supposed to be an African slave. That's what when we grow up, that's what they told us. But she was actually an Arawak Indian. She was an Arawak Indian. So in this part of the video, 9 minutes in, 9 minutes 45 seconds, I'm actually reading from one of those books that we just get from, you know, in general, Tituba, about Salem witch, and they're not talking about her origin, just about her life there, already there in Massachusetts as a servant or slave. And they talk about her complexion, though. They mention something very key, right? That we know she's, you know, copper color, right? And then we're going to go into a book that lets you know where she's really from, Tituba. Her magnificent posture was due to the fact that she liked to carry baskets balanced on her head like the market women. Her hair was completely covered by a neatly wound white turban. A turban. She was wearing a pale blue cotton dress. The sleeves were rolled above her elbows, revealing sturdy arms. The skin, a smooth, dark brown. The skin, a smooth, dark brown. Again, Tituba, the American Indian Arawak that was accused of being a witch in the Salem witch trials. Her skin is a smooth, dark brown, so-called Negro person, right? She was also barefooted too, it says. All right, so just wanted to show this real quick from this book so you can see who we're talking about. All right, so now we're in this book. It's called Tituba, Reluctant Witch of Salem. Devilish Indians. What? They're calling you devil again. Devilish Indians and Puritan Fantasies by Elaine G. Breslaw. All right, Tituba. Now we're going to get into part one, right? Real quick, right? It says Barbados, right? Tituba's roots, an Arawak from Guyana, Guinea, land of the Negroes, Guyana, my own country, Tituba in Barbados, strange new world, an American Indian on a Barbados plantation. All right. So first of all, I just want to say, if you read this book, if you take the time to go look for it and read it or buy it, whatever, you're gonna see how she actually went into the census records, historical societies in Barbados, in Massachusetts. She did very thorough investigation. All right, you got to read the introduction. You got to read all the sources that she quotes from. All right, this is real history right here. This is real research. This is not suggestions or opinions or theories. She really found out who this person was, and she knows it's an Arawak American Indian. All right, let's go read what she has to say. All right, so real quick in the introduction of the book, it says, as expected, the biographical information about Tituba in the Salem documents is very thin. Nevertheless, some important information can be extracted from these meager sources. It is clearly evident from all references in those written records that Tituba was an American Indian and not African, as later writers have assumed, and that she and her husband John, also an American Indian, were slaves living in the household of the Reverend Samuel Parris. So dodge the hijack with slaves, they were servants. There is no reference anywhere in the 17th century documents to Tituba as an African. Again, my people, all right? Again, Senada. Again, Garfield. There is no reference anywhere in the 17th century documents to Tituba as an African or as someone of African background, like the mythology of Tituba as a voodoo priestess. There is no indication in the extant records that either Tituba or her husband had African ancestry. None of her contemporaries saw her as an African or even someone of mixed ancestry. She was never described as black or as Negro. Nowhere in the 17th century records is there so much as a hint that she was of an even partial African descent. Thus, there should be no question of her ancestry. All of her contemporaries, without exception, describe Tituba as an Indian woman or as Paris Indian servant, a servant. All right, so what does contemporaries mean? Meaning people who lived at the same time as her. So the records from those times when she was alive
real records, real historical records, all agree, all say the same thing, that Tituba was an Indian woman, right? And she was actually, unfortunately, Paris' Indian servant. Her husband John's racial ethnic background is just as clearly delineated in those records. He is always identified as Indian John or John Indian, or simply as the Indian man. The gradual metamorphosis of Tituba from an Indian to an African since the 19th century is an unfortunate mistake based on embellishment. Again, Tituba from an Indian to an African since the 19th century is an unfortunate mistake based on embellishment, imagination, and a tinge of racial bias, and has been a convenient way to fill in blanks left by the absence of more substantive information. What is less clear from those 17th century commentaries is where Tituba came from, how and when Paris acquired her, and what kind of intellectual and cultural baggage she brought with her to Massachusetts. The most reasonable theory for Tituba's origins was first put forward by Charles Upham, written in the middle of the 19th century. Tituba and John were spoken of, Upham said, as having come from New Spain, that is, the Spanish West Indies, all right, New Spain, the Spanish West Indies, and the adjacent mainland. They were then sold in Barbados as slaves and subsequently brought to Massachusetts by Samuel Parris. Upham offered no direct evidence, but because a good part of his narrative was based on Samuel Drake's work, he probably made use of Drake's edition of Samuel Fowler's 1866 account of life of Samuel Parris, in which Fowler claimed that Tituba and John were natives of South America called New Spain. Tituba's roots, and Arawak from Guyana. All right, says they are spoken of as having come from New Spain, as it was then called, that is, the Spanish West Indies, and the adjacent mainland of Central and South America. Charles Upham, Salem Witchcraft. All right, you hear this? In July of 1674, Captain Peter Roth.
All right, so that's letting you know Tituba, the famous witch from the Salem witch trials, the one that was supposed to be a slave, an African slave. You heard what it said there, how they switched her from, she went from an Arawak Indian to an African, right? They switched history on us, all right? We got the last video, they switched even slavery on us, right? Who was the real slaves? They're switching everything around, they're flipping everything upside down, they flipped the maps around, everything. Your whole perspective, you need a correct orientation. All right, so this is a very good video. If you haven't seen it, go ahead and check it out. I have many sources in this video. I read through many sources to prove, all right? And the person that you see right here, this is how she's depicted in movies and everything, always as a so-called African American or a Negro woman, right? Was an Arawak Indian from South America. This is history. It's real. Genealogy, real. All right? She wasn't African at all. All right, so thanks to the brother Don Taeb22 at the Instagram. He had some images there, and I was like very interested in knowing, you know, where he got them, and I was trying to find the source, and I actually found it. And so much love to him for that. And now the name of the book is this one right here. It's Costume and Sittenbilder des 16 Jahrhunderts aus West, whatever. All right, so that's, I guess, Dutch. All right, that's the name of the book. And again, that translates to customs and genre pictures of the 16th century. All right, so the 1500s, from Western and Eastern Europe, the Orient, the Americas, and Africa. All right, so this is just one example of what's in that book from the 1500s. This is a Turk, I guess, with his, what's that, fez or turban, all right? But just a little bit of the history behind this manuscript or book. It says this manuscript possibly created in Augsburg around 1580. All right, this PDF we're about to see is from 1580. It contains more than 400 illustrations of the dress and manners and customs of countries in Europe and the Orient, especially the Ottoman Empire, as well as Africa and the Americas, with the exception of some clearly fantastic depictions, such as persons with their faces located on their breasts, with animal heads, or with just one leg. All of the illustrations seem to be accurate. All right, they seem to be what? Accurate. These are going to be accurate, what I'm about to show you. Accurate. They're accurate from the 1500s. Among the subjects portrayed are dress and customs of people of various social groups in Scandinavia, Spain, Italy, the Netherlands, Bohemia, France, England, and Flanders, the Greek patriarch, exotic peoples of Asia and Africa, and Indians of the New World. All right. The book also portrays games played by the Aztec and Olmec peoples of Mesoamerica. It shows the entourage of a member of the Fugger family, the most prominent family in Augsburg. All right, and again, this is just, all right, so one example, all right, of what's in this book. So what do you see here? I wonder where these people are from. Huh? I wonder where these people are from, right? Look at this. All right, on the top here it says something. I actually, grabbed this, I copy pasted it, brought it over to Google Translate, right? And I put it over here. So it detected German. And in English it says play with colored stones of the Aztecs and Olmecs. So I think they're trying to say games of the Aztec and Olmec with stones. They're playing a game with stones. Who's rolling dice today in the hood? This is ancient. I got a future video coming up, very exciting, very awesome video. It's about the sports that were and recreational activities that was created here in the Americas. It's numerous. The Aboriginals, what they were doing. Now they're playing some kind of game here, throwing stones, and this is Aztecs and Olmecs, all right? Aztecs and Olmecs right here. In this book in the 1500s. Let me just go to the next image. All right? You see this? Zoom in real quick. Let's take a good look at this. All right. See this brother right here. His hair, his curly hair. All right, with his parrot or macaw, chilling. All right. Whoops. Let's go back. She's got her water, or her pitcher of water right there and everything. This person right here, they got the exterior. All right, letting you know. All right. So I'm gonna grab this, track that internet de nuevo Welt. Let's see what it says. We're gonna go to Google Translate. Alright, it says traditional custom of the New World Indians. The New World Indians, the New World Indians, the New World Indians. Alright, you see that? Copper colored tribes of America, so-called Negro. Do you remember who you are? You ain't from Africa. You from here, you're indigenous from this land. This is from the 1500s in Germany, right? And we've shown you these churches, right? In Germany, filled, and these palaces, right? From the 1500s, 1600s, 1700s, filled with paintings of Aboriginals of America, portraying the four continents. America always being portrayed by a so-called Negro. Here it is, again, in a manuscript from the 1500s, all right? And I think there's one more. Oh yeah, we got this one right here. You see this? All right. You see his hair, all curly. All right. You see their complexion. What are they doing? You see this guy? He got the log up, so they're juggling. I believe they're juggling logs. So much love again to Don Taeb 22. He got this on his page. I'm about to show y'all. I'm like, wow, man, these images are awesome. All right. So I'm gonna translate this. Real quick. It says block game of the Aztecs and Olmecs. Block game, a block game, they're calling it. They're like juggling it. They're like juggling it, right? Like circus, right? Boom, 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 throwing it up. You see that? Aztec Olmec right here. Aztec Olmec. Mexica Olmec. It's all the same people. They like separating all these epics and ties and changing the names, All right. All right, so this is what I was talking about. This is where I saw it. These images, so you see them over here. And this is from another Instagram right here, the melanin within Instagram. But he posted some other good ones right here, like this one. You see this one right here? It says, figure 7 Indian men respectively glossed. This is an Indian, a noble of their time. This is also the Indian manner, how they have brought wood jugs with them out of which they drink. All right. And like over here, you see that? Copper colored tribes of America. All right. go to this other image they got right here. Alright, you see? Same thing. Figure 5 gloss. Thus the Indians go, have costly jewels let into their face and take them out when they want to and can put them in again. Says again, this is the source right here. Alright, you see that? So-called Negro. The Indian. Alright, another one right here. Alright. Do you remember who you are? Get a close-up. Do you remember who you are? Huh? You're not an African. You're from here. But Kurimeo, so some of them had to have come from Africa. Well, show me the genealogy. Show me the ship. Show me what port they left from. Show me the records. Because I can show you how they were enslaving people from this region of the world. Mesoamerica, South America, the Spaniards and Portuguese, and these were aboriginals and described them as so-called Negroes. All right, and they were bringing these up to Florida and the rest of the colonies of the Caribbean, and they were calling them Negroes after that. All right, so this is your Negro right here, but he's an Indian. That's an Indian. All right, Don Taeb. All right, and I had this other link saved up here, which I thought was very interesting. It correlates with other findings we had, other bones that they found in the Americas. All right, now it says here, 2 skeletons of Negro males have been recovered from a grave in Hull Bay near the Danish Virgin Islands. There's controversial theory as to how the bones came to be. All right, we're going to read a lot of different articles from that time. Crazy theories, all right, that they have, but it's all conjecture, right? But they definitely know that these people are what they would consider so-called Negroid, or what they would think is an African, right? Now it says, this first one says, analysis of the Hull Bay skeletons at St. Thomas by Douglas H. Ubelaker, J. Lawrence Angels from Smithsonian Institute. Now it says, during the summer of 1974, archaeologists in St. Thomas, United States, Virgin Islands, recovered 2 extended human skeletons from an archaeological site at Hull Bay, St. Thomas. The presence of colonial coffin nails indicated that at least one of the skeletons was intrusive into the older Indian archaeological site. That's what they're saying. However, the other skeleton lacked colonial or modern artifacts and was directly associated with Indian pottery. Both skeletons subsequently were sent by the Office of the Territorial Archaeologist, Government of Virgin Islands, to the Smithsonian Institute, Washington, D.C. for the examination. All right, so down here it says skeleton A represents a relatively complete, well-preserved skeleton of a 33 to 41-year-old Negroid adult male, approximately 170 centimeters in stature. All right, it says the diagnosis of male is based on general ruggedness of the skeleton, large mastoid process in the skull, and the morphology of the pelvis. All right, so they're letting you know. All right, it says most morphological evidence fits a Negroid racial affiliation of the skeleton. Negroid traits include a linear ellipsoid bald, somewhat flat in the vertex area with a prominent occiput and relatively very wide forehead, a broad orbital region accompanied by wide nasal aperture with a small nasal spine and striking slight subnasal grooves, considerable facial and especially alveolar prognatism. All right, that's how they describe a Negro. All right, so another article says here from the Virgin Island Daily News, August 1st, 1975, says soil from the earth layers where the 2 Negro skeletons were found has been dated at the year 1250. All right, this is way before Columbus, right? However, scientists have been skeptical about whether the skeletons themselves date back that far. Smithsonian scientists reportedly considered the find of the skeletons so important that they endorsed the VI government's decision to halt the construction of the Armours Plant condominium complex on the site and purchased it for future research. All right, so they bought the land, maybe so they couldn't find no more bones. Now, this other article says the Observer reported, this is from February 24th, 1975, says were blacks first settlers in Western Hemisphere. All right, Washington Associated Press says Smithsonian scientists are puzzling over the possibility that there might have been blacks in the West Indies more than 2 centuries before Columbus. All right. Oh no. Institution anthropologists are studying 2 male Negro skeletons unearthed in an abandoned Virgin Island cemetery. All right. Soil from the earth. Now, this is an Indian burial ground. They're not telling you right here. This is an Indian burial ground. All right. Soil from the earth layers where the skeletons were found has been dated at the year 1250. Although scientists know that the skeletons could be those of slaves buried later in already existing Indian cemetery. All right, it's already an Indian cemetery. They could have been buried later, but they don't know. See, they're guessing there. It says by Douglas H. Ubelaker. Listen to this. Smithsonian anthropologist says
that he noted that one of the skeletons had a ceramic vessel placed around the wrist. All right. This, he said, was a custom of the Indians in that area, most of the which had left or been killed by the time the Spanish introduced African slaves into the islands in the 17th century. Gosh, the hijack. They had been, what? No, they didn't. You enslaved the same people. It's the same people that you're calling so-called African. All right, the vessel was of Indian origin and pre-Columbian design. All right, this was Indian origin. He's not African. All right, he's not a slave. Very later, the anthropologists let you know. All right, just maybe the other one didn't have anything to relate him to as being Indian, but he was probably also one too. This is an Indian burial ground. It says pre-Columbian inhabitants included the warlike Caribs and the peaceable Arawaks, whose civilization was producing pottery by the time Columbus arrived. All right. So again, that was another article from that time. So yeah, they had found bones here in Virginia, in the Virgin Islands. Sorry. All right, and pre-Columbian burial ground. All right, stuff they don't tell you about. All right, forgotten unknown Virgin Island whole base skeletons. All right. All right, so we got another throwback. This is part 13, from Indigenous American to African American, Unexpected Faces in Ancient America. All right, this book I found, well, I had to put it together. Well, I think I tell the story in this video, but either way, really good book. A lot of good info and archaeology and things you cannot deny. All right, it's in your face. It's in the rock. It's in the stone. It's in the pottery. It's in the sculptures. All right. All right, so it says here, The Art of Terracotta Pottery in Pre-Columbian, Central and South America by Alexander von Wittenau. So in this book, we find this part. It says unexpected faces in ancient America. All right, unexpected meaning, you know, stuff that's not supposed to be here, things that are, you know, not taught in history. And it says here, and right in the beginning forward, it says, before a world history of man can be written, one of the things we must know in which people inhabited the various parts of the world throughout the centuries. The book before us analyzes the racial affinities of people depicted in American sculpture from about 1500 BC to 1500 AD. All right, so it's gonna show you some images and some talk. All right, so that was the name of the book, but I wanted to bring you to minute 24, minute 25. All right, make sure you catch it if you want to see the whole thing. There's a lot of drop before that. Just get to this part of the video and show a lot of this, a lot of the portion of what's in here. All right, for you right now. Let's get into it. Now look at this brother right here. All right, what does that look like to you? Give you a second. You tell me. Look at this. All right, so this is where I got this image from. Yeah, as soon as I saw it, I'm like, man, that looks like Lil Wayne. And then I found this picture. I was able to put it next to it. I'm like, yeah, man, that looks just like him. Look at how he has tattoos still. Wow. All right. This next one right here as well, look at this. This is a gold piece. All right, this is detailed of a heavily tattooed Negroid terracotta figure from the province of Guanacaste in Costa Rica. Guanacaste, very indigenous region here in Costa Rica, the lower part of Mesoamerica. All right, now take a look at this. Look at his features, right? Look at his features close in. Let's zoom in. All right, so look at his features right here. All right, look at this person. He's like holding up something. He's in the bottom of some kind of a seat or something. All right, now look at this one right here. Strong face, strong features, very realistic. Look at that. Look at those cheekbones, the lips, the nose, the front, the forehead, the eyes, very deep. All right. It says early Negroid representation from Morelos, Mexico. Again, ancient Mexico. All right. Look at this one right here. So this is the other side of that picture we saw earlier. I guess 2 views of the Olmec Monument. F. Tres Zapotes in Veracruz. Early pre-classic. All right, so we got these ones too. Look at these. Wow. All right, so this is found in America. All right, these are not African sculptures. These are from America. All right, look at these. All right, look at this. ABC, right? keep going. Wow, look at that. This is from America, right? Found all over the Americas. All this right here. Ancient depictions, sculptures of Americans. There's 2 terracotta heads from Guerrero, small Negro head with refined facial features. These are all from Mexico. Alright, so again, the author wants to remind you, 2 facts can be drawn from the illustrations in this book. Alright, again, we're in unexpected phases of America. First, the overall presence of some Negroid individuals in several regions of Mesoamerica. Alright, these are facts. 2 facts, alright? Facts, Negroid individuals in several regions of Mesoamerica. And second, the sequence of the colossal Olmec heads, underscored by the theories of Coe and Clelo, namely that the finest sculptural efforts of San Lorenzo come first, with not the slightest indication of an artistic evolution leading up to these masterpieces. The implications of the second fact are prodigious. Several distinguished Negro personages and at least one or several first-rate artists, complete with extremely well-developed stone sculpture techniques, appeared, so to speak, out of the blue on the American continent 3,000 years ago. Up to now, absolutely no reasonable explanation has been given by any scientific professional for this startling event. So what he's telling you is they have not been able to explain or prove that these are Africans, or even explain who they are, like where they came from. And the reason is because they are aboriginal, autochthonous to this land, first land out of the primordial waters, as Agassiz told us already, based on the geology. Look at this one, look at the long nose, but look at the hair. Look at the cone head, right? Look at the hair though, see the hair? This one right here as well. And we got this one right here too. And look at her hair, you see the little, it's like it's trying to pick curls, right? Or the kinky hair, look at her, lips, right? And we got some more right here, look at this. You would think this is from Africa if you didn't really know where it was from. Look at her hair, wow. Right, look at this one right here. Zoom in. Alright, so look at this person right here, look at the hair. Alright, now look at this one at the bottom. Zoom out a little. Look at that. Look at him. Look at his grill and everything. He got beard. Alright, but look at his features. Alright, what is that? Alright, it says B, powerful clay head. So this is Negro terracotta heads from Tlatilco, Mexico. And the first one says was a female head with kinky hair. And they're talking about this one right here. Kinky hair. Look at this one right here. Wow. Look at this. Wow. Alright, so now we got this one right here. Let me just zoom in a little bit. I'm gonna show y'all something. So you see this person right here? Look at this look. This is that same dragon look. That same they show in Japanese. They show a lot of gods like this, and actually show the dragon kings looking like this. The dragon dynasties over there. This same look. Let me show you what I'm talking about. This is that dragon, and over in Japan, it says close-up in front view of monumental Negro magician from the Mayan ruins in Copan, Honduras. The sculpture of his companion on the right is now missing. And so that's just another view of it right here, down here. Alright, so let me just show you what I'm talking about. Alright, so look at this person. What does this look like to you? Alright, check this out. Alright, so this is what I'm talking about. You know who this is, right? This is Keith David, right? Famous actor. Alright, you see that look? Alright, the Dracan look. This is, I'm going to show you why I'm saying that. I'm going to show you why I'm saying that. You see, he got that. Like, don't mess with me, right? Right? Alright, so look at this one right here.
Right, so you see this one right here, you see his features? Alright, alright. This is what I was talking about. The Drakan, little Dragon King, Drakan. Alright, Drakan. That Drakan look, alright? This is what I was talking about. Close up and front view of monumental Negro magician from the Mayan ruins in Copan, Honduras. The sculpture of his companion on the right is now missing, alright? So, this is what I was. Alright, that's a lot, man. So we got a lot of that drop. That's part 13 again. Get the whole drop, the whole book. You missed a lot from the beginning. And that's just Drakan right there. Alright.